All right, and we are live today with two very special guests because I believe most of us, our families, we are right now experiencing a very, very unique school holiday season. It's called the stay home school holidays. And I don't know how you're managing. Yeah, so if you are tuning in to us, whether it be on Facebook Live or I don't know, YouTube. How is the stay home school holidays? Yeah, just give us a thumbs up if you are still alive and kicking. um, and today that's going to be the topic of our discussion. I have with me two very special panelists. First and foremost, we have, I think ladies go first, right? So we have Yvonne Kong-Ho.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Yvonne. Glad to have you back. I know
Thank
we haven't had
you.
you on Facebook Live yet, but you've been on our podcast. And Yvonne is an educator at heart. Really, like she lives, breathes it. And she particularly wants to develop people for the workforce. Okay, so although she works with much older kids, if you can still call them kids, she is herself a mom of a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. No, 11-year-old now. Yeah, 11 and 9, right? They have grown.
Yeah.
Kids grow up
Behaving like
fast.
19 and 20, yeah, sometimes.
Okay, so they share some similarities with the students you teach.
Yeah.
Okay, so two primary school age kids, and we're going to check in with her briefly as to how she's managing thus far. And of course, we have also with us Dr. Jiow Hee Jhee, who is lecturing now. He is a digital literacy expert, and I'm sure those of us who are parents and we find such, solace in handing over a screen to our kids, even if it's just for a while, to have some, respite and relief from them. I think we want to hear from you today, right, Chi? And of course, Chi is also a father, a parent to 4 kids. So I was just joking with him before we started this show that he is more than making up for me, who has only one. So he has 2 kids in primary school and 2 in secondary school. In fact, he's got 2 kids in their very crucial, we Singapore parents are critical years. One taking PSE this year and another taking O levels. So, parents out there, you got kids in that age group, and you're very, very curious what G is doing with his kids right now. You can start sending in your questions. All right. Okay, so let me just jump right in. First of all, how are the school holidays? We're into week 2 of the stay-home school halls, but I know we are like into week 6 of the circuit breaker. Yeah, so how has it been for both of you?
I would say it's been good. 2 weeks of school holidays, but it really helps to give them a routine, a timetable to follow. The only thing is that it takes a lot from the parents, the mother, to ensure that they follow that timetable. Because I'm sorry, G, sometimes, when they don't follow the timetable, and you have a Zoom coming up and they're acting up, it's very easy to say, you know what? Netflix has a very good documentary. Very educational. Why don't you all watch it? And then ask me 3 questions after that. And then you get like silence for, I think, at least 1.5 hours. And you tell yourself, I'm sorry, please don't judge. But you tell yourself, it's educational, yeah. That's the purpose for the screen. It's educational. I
Okay,
want to
so
be real.
I'm hearing a couple of things from you, Yvonne. Firstly, you have a schedule for the school holidays. Is
Yes,
this a
yes.
new thing? Is this the first time you've ever had a schedule for school halls? Or is that
Actually,
just you and normally,
to be honest, it's really for the circuit breaker. I mean, during the circuit breaker when there was still school, HBL, there's a timetable that the kids follow. But now that they don't have homework anymore in a way, so there's a timetable that I fixed up with them and we drew it out, in front of the family whiteboard with their agreement, and they signed on it. They said, we're going to follow it, So
wow.
it really keeps my sanity. It really keeps my sanity. But like what I said, sometimes, they'll be like, oh, mommy, yeah, I've done so much of work. Can I have a bit more screen time? Or, oh, mommy, this is that is this. Yeah, they are very good at debating and negotiating and mediating. All these skills came up, a lot more during the circuit breaker.
Really?
Yeah.
At 11 and 9 years of age?
I was so tempted to just replicate whatever they did during the HBL and just say,
I
can you just
know.
go in and repeat, all those work that you have done,
School
go into
assignments, you
the
mean?
school assignment, just go in and repeat. I was so tempted to do that, but eventually I just say, okay, let them have their time, let them wake up later a bit, and then after that, I just look through the day, see what they want to do, and they just tell me what they want to do, lah. So one of the things that I try to stress to my kids is, hey, this season, you don't have all your trainings that you used to have and all that, so you better find a way to get fit. So one of the things that I
Uh,
insisted is that all my kids must do some form of exercise. So sometimes they, you know what we've been doing? We are like almost every day we are like baking cakes. I mean, right now as I'm speaking to you, my wife and my two younger ones are baking cookies. And so I said, wow, you all are baking so much and you all are taking in so much. You all better exercise as well. So that's one of the things that I insisted they do. It's quite interesting. Now you have a lot of the apps that are released
uh,
free, and they
yes,
have some of
yes.
these exercise programs
Yeah.
that's available as well.
And people,
Yeah.
I noticed, have been at least like even this evening when I went downstairs to have take a walk, of course with my mask on, I noticed that there were a couple of people, who were like isolating themselves in a little corner of the car park or some part of the compound, and they were videoing themselves, doing exercise. And yeah, so my son was commenting to me, these days everyone's doing an exercise video and putting it online. Okay,
Creating
so
their own
so
content, right?
so as I hear it, we are still on a schedule, despite the fact that it's the school halls. What's been different? I mean, apart from I hear waking up later. Um, I don't know what's. Have your kids actually noticed that these school halls are not the regular school halls, and what has their response been or the atmosphere been at home?
I think
Yeah, I
they're
think
aware. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry?
definitely they are like saying this is very different school halls.
Mm,
Actually, the transition was quite seamless because we have the home-based learning, and then though they have a fixed schedule, when we transited into the school halls, my two of them who are still the PSLE one, the Sec 4 one was still doing their own revision and things like that. And then the other two, my youngest and my second daughter, very interesting. They just picked up hobbies on their own. So like my second daughter started playing a lot with her computer and then started writing a lot. So when I went over to her and said, "Oh, what you're doing?" Actually, she's actually writing a book. It caught me off
wow.
guard. She's actually writing a book. I think she's doing this with some friends lah. And my youngest one, because once the HBL came, one of the things I did was I bought huge monitors because I didn't want them to. I want to be able to kind of like monitor their screen time also, and
Mm,
so I have a lot of those. I bought new monitors. I have a lot of those, cardboard boxes and all that. And I saw my younger son collecting them, and I was just wondering, what are you doing? Then he told me he wanted to build a robot uh, with those cardboard. So he's spending time doing art and stuff like that. So I mean, if people would ask how I juggle with all this, firstly, my eldest is quite independent. She does her own work and all that. My second is like writing a book. My third, my third child is involved in revision sometimes with my wife and things. And my youngest is doing his art and craft. So I guess I find that that's okay. One of the only things I have to do is come and insist that we all have lunch and dinner together, as well as they exercise. So
mm.
sometime around 4, when let's say my work more or less finish, I'll say, okay, have you exercised? Come, let's go and do something together or stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. And Yvonne, I picked up earlier. You said that you have a schedule, and as a mom, it almost seems like mom has to be the one that's running this stay-home schedule. Uh,
It's true. I mean, because husband is an essential worker, so he still works. So a lot of times when he's at home, he cooks and he cooks really well. And he's been teaching the kids how to do their favorite dishes. So daddy's cooking, is much better than mommy. So daddy's been teaching them how to I would say position the food nicely, what plate to use. Or when you do steam egg, you cannot do like what mommy does, just steam the egg, right? Daddy has to teach them how to sieve the egg into that what do you call that sieve, so that there are no bubbles on top. And I'm like, whoa, this is beyond me. Yeah. But I
Very,
also find that because of this circuit breaker and because of this very unusual school holidays, like what G said, the kids have a lot more time to pursue their interests. And similarly, I actually allow them to naturally wake up. And to my horror, I realized that we have actually been depriving our children of sleep. Because when they naturally wake up, they can actually sleep 10 to 12 hours. Yeah, and on a regular basis during the school during school term, there's no way they can sleep 10 to 12 hours. And one thing I realized as a mom at home is that I must be able to tolerate mess during this period of time. Because very similarly, they will do art. The two of them, so surprising, the two of them, the brother and the sister who sometimes squabbles, yeah, they came together to create art pieces for me. I was like, wow. So I had to tolerate the mess, or they'll be playing with their roomie game, or they'll be playing with like taboo. And sometimes they'll play and they don't keep very quickly because they want to go into another activity. I've got to be able to say that, okay, you know what? I treasure the bonding and the activity time more than the mess. And the mess, at the end of the day, I'll say, you know what? Before you go to the next day, please clear up today's mess. Okay? Let's start on a clean slate tomorrow. So I think there are certain battles I've learned to fight, and there are certain battles I'm like, you know what? Not worth it. Let's look at a bigger picture. If I can see them bonding, I can see them having so much fun together. Yeah, let's do it. It's okay.
So if you
Yeah, I
can't win it all, it's like prioritizing what you can live with.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
Yvonne brought up a good point also. I also noticed that when we don't have a wake up time, my kids actually sleep very much longer. So one of the things I try to do also this season is to get them to sleep earlier and sort of like kind of calibrate them so that when they are, getting ready to go back to school, assuming school starts at the same time, there'll be more sleep. They get more sleep and they
Yeah.
are more refreshed also. So
Right.
someone was like also telling me this is a kind of like a good reset button where you can kind of like rejig their whole schedule and kind of get them to adopt fresh habits lah.
Okay, since we're talking about schedule, I know there's a question that came in about, how getting kids to stick to their daily schedule, especially when it's supposed to be school holidays. Whoever has schedules for school holidays, yeah, but getting them to stick to their own schedule can be quite frustrating. Like kids have their own time. I mean, I don't know. Gee, do your kids? You said you try to get into bed earlier, but are they complaining because? I mean, Dad, it's the school halls. That's when we are entitled to stay up late. Yeah, how do you go about doing this? So the question is like, what can you do to get the kids who prefer to do things at their own time, own pace, to stick to a schedule so that you don't lose your mind?
I think it's quite different for different kids lah. So what you would want to do is to process with them to find out from them why they need to sleep late and stuff like that. So um, I encourage my children to sleep early, and then whatever time they get up, I try and calibrate accordingly. The schedule may not be that tight, as in like every hour or every 2 hours have something on, but roughly that in the morning you get up, you must do certain things. Towards the evening at a certain time, let's say between 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, for me, I tell my kids you have to go and exercise, because that's when it's not that hot. You can just go to a room and just do your own things and all that. So yeah, so it depends on what our idea of schedule is like. So I don't have like a fixed schedule to say 12 o'clock must eat, 4 o'clock must definitely all stop and do exercises. No, it's around that time where we try and get things moving. Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like there's some flexibility even within the structure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I
I
realized
think
that every child also they have their little clocks. So during the HBL period, I observed that, for example, one of my children in the morning, he's totally not a morning person. He's extremely grumpy when he wakes up. So I learned that let's not fix the doing work time to be in the morning. So in the morning when he wakes up, like what G does, we are flexible. Let's have breakfast together, let's have a snack together, or I will at least put food on the table so that if I have to do my own work, my own Zoom meetings, there's food. And I come out,
Mm.
okay. So very, very loosely, there's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In the middle, there's work. Yeah, there's work. And in the afternoons, where everybody's energy is always very low, I actually allow them, I call it screen time. Screen time means you can play on the com, you can watch something nice on Netflix, but you got to ask mommy and tell mommy what you're going to watch. And you have to
Mm.
watch it with your sister. So anything that's related to the screen, like the two of them, they've been actually pairing up for Minecraft. They've been building things for each other. Yeah, the brother has been teaching the sister how to build things. And okay, now the catch is that it's a barter. And I always sit them down at the end of the day and I say, hey, you had your screen time in the afternoon, right?
Mm.
So the
Mm.
next day, it's always first work, then play. First work, then play. So there are certain principles that I repeat to the point of ad nauseum at home. You've got to follow. First work, then play. First work, then play, right? And then it's always a fair barter. You've played, the next day is work. So it took a while. That's why I say, the routine is the lifesaver for me. At the end of the day, when they say I don't want to do work, I'm saying, no, you had your screen time. You had your fun, right? Then it's
Mm.
going back to
Mm.
work. So we
Mm.
go back to those principles again and again and again. It took a while, but the two of them are a lot better now. Yeah, and it does, maintain a calm atmosphere at home where I'm very, very rational, and I go back to that board, and I go back to you had your time. You go back to the, that whole almost like a broken radio, but it works.
Okay, screen time. Gee, this is where you come in.
Oh,
I know it's a
really?
lifesaver for some of us as working parents, and in fact, the DQ report, this was in 2018, says that 8 to 10-year-olds in Singapore spend an average of 35 hours in front of digital screens for entertainment alone. So this is not school homework. And it's 3 hours more than even the global average. And if you see on the screen for our viewers, I don't know if you can do a quick count. Do you kind of see yourself fitting into that? As you can see, we are higher than global average, not just, yeah. Uh, so basically, I know staying home, it's so tempting, right? To just plug
Use
them
it
in
as
front of the
babysitting tool, is
screen.
it?
Yes, we don't advocate that and focus on the family, but how do you do that, go about instilling, I mean, we talked about instilling discipline, and I know the questions came in, how do you do that, how do you start setting structure? And I know both of you has talked about involving the kids, having some flexibility even within the structure, so it's not rigid. But when it comes to screen time, what are some, I don't know, boundaries we should have, and yet stay sane, and yet at the same time we don't create inadvertently addicts out of our kids?
Okay, I think there are few ways that you can approach this. Some parents are concerned, let's say, about the physiological aspect of screen time. So, for example, they don't want their kids to spoil their eyesight or stuff like that, and that means or rather not just spoiling eyesight or disrupt the sleep pattern. You would rather have for example, after you look at the screen for about half an hour, make sure you rest your eyes, look elsewhere. Parents who are concerned about the screen time affecting the sleep of the child, they can say, maybe 2-3 hours before your bedtime, don't look at any screen and things like that. So it largely depends on where where you're approaching it from lah. So I tell my kids to rest their eyes every 20 to 30 minutes. I do that myself. What I do from my screen is I'll just stand up and stretch and walk about, drink some water. I started doing some push-ups in between also, and my daughter also followed me as part of her training. She does sit-ups in between, and that was during the HBL season.
Mm.
Um, that whenever she goes for the online classes or does her work, she will take breaks and things like that. The other approach that I take is also more functional. So my kids don't really use it that much for recreational purpose. Now, if you're talking about computers, of course we do watch TV as a family. Sometimes we switch on a show at the end of the
Mm.
week or something like that. But generally, they don't use it so much for recreational purposes. I say not so much. They do use it. So one example was over last weekend we had a Zoom with all their cousins, and they played a game across uh, different geographic regions in Singapore and
Mm,
Australia and even London and places like that. So
mm,
that kind of helped with the bonding process. So it also largely depends on how you want to see your kids making use of technology. I always say that technology is a tool. Use it
mhm,
meaningfully, and it will benefit you.
mm. Yvonne,
I
how
read
do you
this
manage
parent
this?
Yeah, I read this parenting article, and it reminds us that as a parent, technology can be a tool, like what G said.
Mm,
However, when the children are young, we need to be able to protect them, right?
mm,
And but as they grow older, we need to be able to prepare them. We can't keep them away from technology. I want to be very honest. When they were younger, I was very, very sticky about screen time. I was very careful about exposing them too much because I wanted them to develop other interests. And one day, my son came to me, quite a shock, but he came to me and said, "Mommy, can I play Minecraft with you to bond with you?" My 11-year-old. I was like, "Can I teach you how to play Minecraft?" And I was like, okay, to him, right? His love language is spending time with him to play Minecraft with him. So I don't like to play games, but I had no choice but to. He gave me a Minecraft manual and said, "Why don't you read this first, and I'll teach you." That's when I realized that it's not that, because I could have just said, "No, Minecraft is bad. Video games are bad. Screen time is bad. I'm not going to touch it any at all." But I wanted it, and I saw, and I was really very thankful. I saw the intent behind his question. He wanted
mm,
me to bond with him. So,
mm,
we play Minecraft together. He's definitely better, but I also was
mm,
able to see how he was trying to patiently teach me, and I affirmed him for his patience. Like, "Oh, thanks for pointing me to that. I never knew you could do that. Oh my gosh, what's this button about?" And he will give me the, "It's okay, mommy, I will teach you." He was so patient about it. And I would say, it's also very important as a mom at home to monitor what they play, as well as
mm,
to hear from them what are their friends playing. Because I once noticed that, one of my kids was like, "Oh, people in class are playing this and I don't play with it." And I'm like, "Oh, tell me more about it." And I was able to address the fact that you don't have to play everything that people are playing. You don't have to fit in, if you know what I mean.
mm,
Yeah. So that was another teachable moment that I was very glad that came out of, somewhat what we call screen time. And, honestly, I'm also on the screen sometimes, right? On the phone, replying the mails, reading the article. I acutely and consciously tell them that the phone can be my tool and can be your tool. But when I use it
mm,
in front of them, I very, very consciously will tell them, "Oh, mommy is reading. Hey, can I share this article with you? Yeah,
mm,
this author." Because sometimes on the trains we see people using the phones to play games,
mm,
to do all kinds of things. But I want them to see that the phone, I don't think we can stay away from the phone. And especially this group of young kids who are going to grow up to be digital natives, they can't stay away from the phone. But I want them to see that the phone can be a tool to aid their personal growth. So I
mm,
actually share with them the apps that I have: Harvard Business Review, medium.com. They have excellent articles. So I
mm.
really want them to see that. But yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's
Yvonne,
great.
yeah, you just articulated one thing that I encourage parents to do. That is really get involved in the children's digital journey.
Mm,
Even when it comes to playing video games, you can teach lessons, impart important lessons while playing it. I, some of the
I
things
feel like a total
sometimes
noob though.
I wonder how you can play the first person view. I always get giddy when I play this kind of games, and so I cannot last long in this kind of games.
I so agree with you. My son tried to help me navigate. He also recently got into Minecraft, and he uses it as a point to engage with his friends. So they're all online at the same time, and yeah, building stuff and all. And yeah,
I don't
I
allow
got
him to play with
I felt
external
sick after a
players.
while. It's like, can you just stop moving the screen? I don't know even about teaching lessons. I think or maybe I kind of weaseled my way out of it, by using, always like there's a point to this, right? And after a while, he got so tired of me. He said, "Nama, I think you don't play. Just leave me alone."
Oh, but there's one thing that I don't allow them to play with games that will, help get them to interact with the world. I mean,
Mm,
I'm careful with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with primary school age kids, right? So G, I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but you were talking about, how you like maybe some boundaries, and since you have primary school age kids as well as teenagers, how would you advise that to be different?
Okay, so I, for one thing, I always advocate is know the child, and
Mm,
the other thing is know the media. So I do advise parents, don't compare your child with someone else's child, and don't apply the same rules. So some when I look at my child, I'll ask his or her reason for wanting to spend time on the screen or some of these digital devices. If I find that my child tends to hide things from me, what I'll do is I'll definitely buy in fact, for my kids, when they all started out, when they started using, I bought
mm,
a big screen, and I told them, said, I need you to use the computer in a place where I can kind of monitor. This is not so much, I mean, some kids may say, "What is it? You don't trust me?" That's not the point. When I communicated with my kids, is that I think there are some things that you don't know that you don't know. That means you do not know that it is unhealthy and things like that.
mm,
And these are the teaching moments that I want to catch and be able to
mm,
share with you. So
mm.
after a
But
while,
you but you might be seen as the expert because you are a digital literacy expert. But just over dinner,
why?
my son said to me that, Mom, really, if it's about technology, you should listen to me because I'm Gen Z.
So, well, I tell you, I realize how noob I am in regards to tech. The first few days of home based learning, I performed a tech support role. I was trying to get everything set up for them, and then I sometimes had to ask my friends how to do this, how to do that, and things like that. Yeah, so yeah, with my kids, one of the key things is I know my child first. I know what are their
Mm,
propensity,
okay.
what are their habits, and things like that. From
Mm,
young, I've observed them, and then when they get onto the digital media, the key thing is to just watch them and guide them based on their preferences lah. So one yeah, so one of my kids, I know the kid tend to hide things from me. So one of the things I did was I pulled the table out, make sure it's the most public setting, and I can watch her and guide her along lah.
mm,
My son likes to read a lot. My
mm,
son likes to work with art, and therefore I, instead of getting him to go to the screen to do his things, I will get him to do physically art instead of
mm,
the drawing stuff and all that, which is something he enjoys. Whenever he has time with the screen, he also does his artwork, which is quite good. I support it, and sometimes he asks me to print out his designs and all that, and I'll do that as well. So I guess the key thing is to see your child, know your
mm,
child,
mm,
and
mm.
know that just I adopt the posture that technology is a tool,
Yeah.
and you can use it meaningfully. Lah.
Mm. I
It's a
think.
beautiful thing that you shared, G, because I have a friend's daughter. She loves to draw. And because my daughter loves to draw as well, right? So I showed her what this teacher is drawing. Because this teacher has created her own drawings and she has made them into stickers and keychains. And we actually bought from this Cheche over
Wow.
her Instagram account. So I showed my
Oh,
daughter. I say, you see, Cheche is doing this. It's so beautiful. So when we saw the picture on Instagram and when she held the keychain, that was like an aha moment for her. That
mm,
we so I'm encouraging her to draw and then to make it into cards for people, and then she's also trying to write stories now based on what
mm,
she's drawn. So I think we can even push our kids, encourage them to be entrepreneurs because of this circuit
Yeah.
breaker. Yeah, the entrepreneurial dream, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, nothing is impossible.
I
There's
can
a
I
very
can see
interesting
your
question.
workforce development, approach coming up here.
An occupational hazard.
But I love what you both are reiterating, over and over again, that technology has to be seen as a tool by parents, a tool, not just that you consume, but definitely a tool used to connect, whether it's with cousins over gaming, a tool used to create, right? I mean, in Yvonne's example. So if all this, I think it's great to hear how both of you, even though you are so much into the digital world yourselves, as part of work, as part of getting other people prepared for this increasingly digitized world, that you have a good blend of digital activities and the so-called non-digital or non-tech activities, low-tech activities at home, and how you try to like sort of schedule it. G, I know you said that it's good to start from knowing our child and their propensity, towards technology and how they might respond to it or maybe get addicted to it. But you have 4 kids, right? So, when you talked about pulling out the one who tends to hide things, and make sure, that particular more secretive child is, right there for all to see. How do you deal with all the, possible objections of not fair? How come, Koko, Cheche, whoever gets to do this, or Meme can do that, but I'm like that,
I guess I don't have to deal with that yet, because though when she understands, I share with her, said there are many times you go astray and you're not doing your work, or you're doing something else and all that. So I mean, it started, I was wondering, how come your home-based learning, you start at around 7, at 6 p.m. you're still on the computer? And then she'll just tell me, oh, I'm talking to my friends. So I say, how long have you been chatting with your friends and things like that? So you say, oh, don't know, very long already. Sometimes they don't keep track of time. I say, I know you like to talk to your friends. Can there's this thing called telephone. You pick it up, you dial the number, and then you can speak to them also. Will that do? I say, yeah, okay. You allow? I say, yeah, I allow. Can, yeah. So she understands where I come from. I said, and
Mm,
then also, in this season, you need to focus properly on your study. So, we pull out the computer, put it in a more public place. Actually, it's not a huge shift like, it's just 1 meter away from where she is currently sitting. So it's not that big a deal. Yeah. So my kids are okay with it. They change place. Sometimes they share the computer together and stuff like that.
okay, so there's an understanding that it's almost like customized parenting to each child, as I
Yeah.
hear, right? And they
Because
seem to acknowledge that as well.
yeah, and they know that because I started this when they were very young. One of the key things that I bring across to them is don't compare with one another, and I
Mm,
showed that I don't compare with one another. So it all started with my eldest, when she first asked for a phone, and I walked through with her. I said, "You have been responsible for this, that, and I feel that you can be responsible for the next step lah." So I've
mm,
always worked on this principle: if you are responsible and faithful with a few, I can trust you with greater things. Yeah. So I take every one of them through that journey. So I said, I don't work so much by age. I work more by responsibility.
mm,
Even if you're younger, but you have shown responsibility in your usage of the phone, your etc. and things like that,
mm,
you have been accountable to me and mummy and things like that. We will trust you with more, and that's the way I brought my children up in terms of their smartphone ownership. Okay, which is one big thing uh, parents have on their mind. When is a good time to give the smartphone and things like that. So
mm,
that was how I work with it. Obviously, ownership is on a spectrum.
mm,
So I've been asked before, when does my kid own a smartphone? I say, well, from young, they are on a rental basis. That means they needed to go for this CCA. I lend them a spare phone, and then they will return it to me during a
mm,
certain time, after the time they've used it. Then it slowly progress. They can handle 2 hours with the phone. I trust them a little bit more. It gets more, and then finally, they get to own the phone, so called. Yeah.
mm. We love this. This is like the greatest parenting wisdom from Spider-Man, the show Spider-Man, right? I mean, that big quote about with great power comes great
With great
responsibility.
responsibility.
So if you show yourself responsible, you get more privileges and more leeway, more freedom. Love it. We are gonna, before we know it, right? We come to the end of well, at least circuit breaker as we know it, maybe come to the end of the stay-home school holidays, that's for sure. I mean, we have indications that whatever it is, we're going to restart school come June. How do we get our kids? Do you think it's going to be tough getting our kids back to physical school?
It definitely will be. I think they are still in this holiday mood, and they still keep thinking that it might get extended. I said, probably not, and I hope not. I actually, show them news around the world, and I said that, the circuit breaker cannot get extended anymore because the economy is going to continue to suffer, and that means a lot more people will, like lose their jobs. So I put a bit of gravity of the situation into them. Yeah. And then they've stopped asking me to extend the circuit breaker because I said I have no power to extend the circuit breaker anyway. That's one. Yeah. But I'm already getting them to have earlier bedtimes. I'm also, talking to them and like, oh, it's good to go back to school because you can see your friends and, you can show care and concern towards your friends, right? Because everybody is also not feeling too good about being cooped up. And, I also know that we have quite a bit of friends around us who are not, who have certain job instabilities and they are worried about their children. So I'm also sharing a little here and there with my children to say that, you go back to school, you can encourage your friends. Yeah, you can help them. So it's to give them certain responsibilities for them to go back to school to kind of, serve out. I think it really, I have to prepare them physically, physiologically by getting them to go back to their normal bedtimes. We are already starting to clear up their school bags. I'm psychoing them that, we are going back to the B books, not the A books anymore, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So slowly just, yeah, incepting ideas into them. But it's important because I think even for us, when we adults need to go back to work, we also need to have certain routines
True,
and
true.
habits in place. Yeah, so we have to, I think even more, we need to help the kids. It's not going to be easy, but we are all in this together and we'll get it together. Mm.
I think this question also largely depends on what will school look like on June the 2nd. I don't have a clear idea yet on what it means or how school looks like. I also don't have a clear idea on what work looks like because that impacts the parents and that will answer the question on how tough it would be in getting kids back. But one thing I'm quite sure is that we've come so far together as a family, so I'm sure we are able to adjust back to school together as a family.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, that's great hope when we, build up that atmosphere at home such that, regardless what we face, we can be prepared for it and we will make it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We are running out of time. So, before we end, I really wanted to just, have some last words from both of you. What would be that one thing you would like to maybe leave with parents and families to really make them most out of this very unique stay-home school holidays that Singapore is having?
Actually, some of my favorite memories of the past 6 weeks, right, is actually not screen time, not the meal
Mm,
times, but just the three of us when my husband is working, the three of us lying down on our big king size bed and just reading and talking, and me scratching their backs, me, like just like touching them, touching their
mm,
ears. And like,
mm,
oh, and they will say, oh, mommy, this pain, that pain. Actually, it's not pain at all. They just want me to massage them. But actually, those were some of my nicest memories. Or we just played taboo in the middle of our bed with all the cuts all over. And it's messy, but you know what? Actually, we fell asleep with all the cuts around us. We didn't pack. But those were the nicest memories looking back. And I was so miss the time that I have with
mm,
them. They could wake up at 10 a.m. the next day and it's okay because we chatted one night till about 11 plus 12 midnight, almost 1 o'clock. And I was like, I didn't have to chase them away to go back to their own beds. I say, just sleep with mommy, just sleep with mommy. And I was scratching them, talking, all kinds of things. My daughter was asking me for a third sibling, and I'm like, nope, not gonna happen, But those are the nicest memories. And I just wanted to tell all parents that it may be tough, and there are always tough moments. Not everything is rosy, but let's look at some of the nicest things and we focus on them. Yeah, don't have to fight every battle. Don't have to make things to be Instagram worthy, Instagram perfect every day. Yeah, we just need to. Self care is very important, really. So one thing at a time, one step at a time.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I concur with what you said, Yvonne, because yeah, I think one thing I'll leave this season with is the memories, the very unique memories I spent with my family, baking, playing games together, teasing one another while we are studying, making jokes in the study room together, and things like that. If you ask me, for those parents who are worried about, or those families who are worried about screen time and their kids, I always tell parents in my talks normally is two things. One is know the child. Every child is unique. Every child has different preferences, different strengths and weaknesses. Know the media as well. The different tools in the media are different. So there are certain affordances by some media platforms, tools, apps, and which is different from others. So knowing these two things will help you negotiate and journey with your child in this digital journey.
That's great, to just hear that we can, even in this day and age where everybody's relying so much and increasing our usage of the digital and technology, that, I mean, just hearing from you guys sharing that your precious moments, from this whole circuit breaker stay home period has been very low tech moments, actually, right? And I hope that's an encouragement for all you parents out there, that and I hope you've picked up some good ideas from even from how Yvonne and G does it at home, and engaging, connecting with their children, and spending this school holidays, that you can use technology only as a tool. Don't have to rely and be fully dependent on it, and that we can all come out of this better. All right, and so with that, I want to wrap up our time today. If you want other ideas, and we even have in fact on our website, that's family.org.sg/COVID-19. I think we can just flash it up on the screen. We even have some ideas as to, how you can have low-tech activities during these stay-home school halls, fun things that you can do as a family, low cost. You don't have to go out and buy stuff because, right now you shouldn't be going out as far as possible. Yeah, and build those memories just as Yvonne and G have done. So if you want to hear Yvonne again, she's going to be on CNA 938, right? On 31st of May. Yeah, so look out for that. You can follow Focus on Family on our Facebook. We'll remind you, okay, when these things come up. And if there are any more questions coming in that we've not addressed, please feel free to write to us, and we will always get back to you. So I just want to thank Yvonne and G for spending your stay-home school holidays with us here at Focus on the Family, using technology as a tool so that we can do this. So thanks so much for being with us, and to all of you out there, yeah, we hope that you cherish your unique, one-of-a-kind stay-home school holidays. Good night.
Stay safe,
Yay.
healthy. Bye.